Hey everyone, Mark here. Just a quick note before we get into this episode. I've actually recorded the whole thing and was in the process of editing it when I realized that I made a lot of references to Christmas. And so as not to insult anyone, I thought I'd just throw this little special announcement out before the episode and let you know that anytime I mention Christmas, you can simply replace it with whatever holidays you would celebrate at this time of the year. My family and I celebrate Christmas, so that's the term I used. So I do apologize to anyone who is offended by that term. Now, on with the episode. Resourceful Designer, Episode 53, Easy Gifts for Graphic Designers.
Welcome to the Resourceful Designer Podcast, offering solutions to streamline your graphic and web design business so you can get back to designing. And now, your host. He manages 7 different Twitter accounts, Mark DeCote.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm happy that you've been able to join me today, where I do this special episode and talk about gifts for graphic designers. Now, I trust your business is doing well. I'm curious, with the holiday season approaching, do you find your business goes down or does it pick up? I always seem to get really busy right before the holidays and then everything goes dead until the new year. So I'm currently in that upswing right now where a lot of people are calling me trying to finish things off. Especially clients. I have some clients that get government grants and they have to spend the money before year's end. So sometimes they'll have extra money in their budget and they'll call me up and say, Mark, I've got this money to spend. What can we do? And I love those types of clients because then you can say, well, let's do a postcard or let's do a flyer or some other innovative thing. Because at this point, they just want to spend the money because it's the type of grant that if they don't spend it by the end of the year, they have to give it back to the government. So those are always fun clients to have because they're wide open to what you can do because they just don't want to lose the money. Because what happens is if they don't use up all the money this year, then when they apply for the grant next year, the government will say, well, you didn't use all the money, so we're not going to give you as much this year. So I have a couple of those that I'm working on. Now, my big win for the week is I launched a website that I've been working on for a year and a half. This is actually a client website. I was hired a year and a half ago. This was mid-2015. I was hired to do this website. And this client has been stalling and just pushing things back. And not necessarily their fault. There's a lot of technical stuff with the website. They want to include some technical drawings. And a lot of times it was waiting for their engineers to redo some drawings. I had done some stuff. And then they decided to change their product slightly. So I had to wait for new engineering drawings. Anyways. Long story short, it's taken a year and a half and I finally launched it this week. So that's one project that I am extremely glad to scratch off my to-do list because it's one that's been on every list for the past year and a half. It's right at the top of the list to finish this website and I was unable to. Well, finally, it's launched. Now you're probably saying a year and a half, that's crazy, but I wasn't really worried about it because the client paid for everything up front. So I had the money a year and a half ago. And it was just me waiting around, sending them an email every once in a while. How are things coming? And they'd say, oh, we're still waiting. We're still revamping. We're still in R&D stage and changing a few things. But since I already had the money, it didn't really matter to me how long it took them. But now it's finished. One more job to scratch off. Well, at this point in the podcast, I normally share a resource of the week with you. But because of the nature of this podcast, where I'm going to be sharing all sorts of different things with you for gift ideas, I decided to forego the resource of the week and simply say, if you are enjoying this podcast, if you get value out of this podcast, please pass it along to fellow graphic designers. If you belong to any Facebook groups or if you have any meetups or if you're in communication or contact with any other graphic designers, let them know about this podcast if you think it would be a benefit to them and you think they might enjoy it. So let's get right to it. What do you buy a graphic designer? You know, with the holidays approaching, and people scrambling to do their last-minute Christmas shopping, there's always those people out there who really have no idea what to get for those around them. Now, last year in episode 13 of the podcast, entitled Graphic Design Gifts for Your Office, where I covered stuff that you can buy yourself for your office, such as computers and chairs and desks and filing cabinets and artwork for the walls and all sorts of stuff like that. Which if you're interested in, go back and listen to episode 13 to get an idea of what sort of stuff you might want to purchase for your office as a gift to yourself. But this year, I wanted to take it a different way and cover all those people. Maybe it's your great Aunt Edna, maybe it's your stepbrother, Maybe it's the Secret Santa you have going on with your sports team. Who knows? In your life, there's always people that come up to you and say, hey, what do you want for Christmas? Well, I thought it would be fun to just list a few things that you could ask of these people who might not necessarily have a lot of money to spend. I'm not talking about, oh, I'd love a new laptop or I'd love a new computer or a new office desk. I'm talking about the people who might only have, 5 to 20, sometimes a little bit more, but don't have a lot of money to spend. And it's more the thought that counts. So when these people come up to you and say, hey, what would you like for Christmas? Instead of standing out there thinking, gee, I really don't know, here are some ideas. First off, gift cards for software. We are graphic designers. We are computer savvy people, and we use software. Whether you're on a Windows machine or a Mac machine, maybe it's an Apple iPad or a Microsoft Surface or some Google device, regardless of what technology you use, there will be software that you will need to purchase. So you can ask people for gift cards for the specific platform that you use. If you're on Mac like I am, iTunes gift cards always go a long way. And people could buy them in $10, $20, $50, $100 increments, whatever they want. And an iTunes gift card is not only good for music, it can also be used for iOS apps, for movies and TV shows via iTunes, as well as the Mac App Store. That's the app store that comes on your Macintosh computer. The one gift card is good for all of them. So that's always a really good choice to ask for. Now, I know I'm talking about Apple, but Google and Windows also have their own versions of the App Store that you can get gift cards for as well. So regardless of your platform, some sort of App Store gift card would always be appreciated. Now, along the same lines, there's also Apple Store and Microsoft Store gift cards that you can't use to purchase software, but are always good to purchase some little trinket or to just use towards the purchase of your next big ticket item. So gift cards to whatever app store of your choice, always a great gift idea. Now, sticking along the same lines are gift cards and gift certificates for other design-related places. Are you thinking of learning a new skill? You can always ask somebody to either give you a gift card or a gift certificate or to purchase a course for you on a place such as lynda.com or on CreativeLive or even Udemy. These are all great learning sites that you can use to improve your skills. And it's even better if you're not the one that has to pay for it. So you could check out any of those to see what sort of gift options they have and ask for those for the holidays. Now, I want to remind you that all links that I mentioned in this episode can be found in the show notes at resourcefuldesigner.com/episode 53. Now, continuing along the gift card lines, there is other places, Amazon.com or .ca or .uk or wherever you are in the world. Amazon gift cards or gift certificates are always welcome, not just for graphic design stuff, which was what I like to purchase off there, but Amazon is quickly becoming one of the largest retailers on the planet. So you can never go wrong with an Amazon gift card. And there's other places you can go like Walmart or Best Buy, or here in Canada, we have these chain of bookstores called Chapters, huge bookstores. A gift certificate from there can be used to purchase design books or learning books, teaching books, or whatever. And don't forget audible.com for audiobooks. I know they sell gift certificates where people can buy a credit that's good for one book or purchase a subscription for you. And I can tell you that audiobooks is the way I consume most of my books these days, both the fiction type and the self-help and business books that I read or /listen to. So anyways, that was a lot of talking just to say that gift cards are always a great first choice for somebody that asks you, what do you want for the holidays? Now, moving away from the gift cards, a great gift that you can give to any graphic designer is a notebook or a sketch pad of some sort. Even if you're not an illustrator or an artist, I'm not. I've said it on the podcast before. I do not consider myself an illustrator. I am horrible at it. When I need something drawn up, I have people I go to do that stuff for me. But I still love notebooks. I've told you that I've got a notebook here in front of me that I keep all my jobs in because I like writing stuff down, pencil on paper, and this is how I keep track of the work I'm doing. And I know I'm not alone. Other designers that maybe are more proficient in illustration and all that would love getting a really nice sketchbook or sketch pad. I know the last time I was in Chapters, that large bookstore chain I mentioned to you, they had an entire shelf lined with these leather-bound books, and these were gorgeous. The leather on them were stamp embossed with some really nice design, and it had a leather tassel that you would wrap around the book to close it. And these were very high quality and not cheap books. And I know I called my wife over to that section and I said, look at these, aren't these gorgeous? And I was dropping hints left or right because I really want one of these, but I couldn't justify at the time spending the money myself on one. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that my wife might have caught the hint and decided to go get one for me. But any sort of notebook or sketch pad is always welcome by graphic designers. Now, another thing that I wanted to mention that a lot of people don't actually think of is magazine subscriptions. Now, I mentioned back in episode 50 about perks of running a graphic design business, where there are a lot of design magazines that you can get free subscriptions to, providing you can prove that you work in the industry. But that's only some of them. There are a lot of really good magazines out there that you can't get free subscriptions to. And sometimes they are a great idea. If somebody comes up to you, maybe your brother or somebody says, hey, what do you want for Christmas? I don't have a lot of money to spend. Tell them to subscribe you to a magazine. It might cost them $20 or $30, but it's something that you get year round. And they can be computer magazines, art magazines, design magazines, technology magazines, anything that would help you out in the field. For years, I had a subscription to Artists magazine because my brother bought it for me one Christmas when I was in college. And every year he would pay the subscription fee to keep it going. I know it's not design related, but my son is an engineering student at a university. And for the past couple of years, I've subscribed him to a couple of magazines that he was interested in as Christmas gifts. So magazine subscriptions is something that people don't often think about as a Christmas gift, but they're actually a great choice because it's not something you just get once. Depending on the publication, you can get 12 or if not more of these as the year goes on. And every time you get it, you think of the person that gave it to you. So it's a great idea and they're not that expensive. Now, kind of along the same lines as subscriptions, and maybe the gift certificates I talked about earlier, is software subscriptions, particularly Adobe Creative Cloud. Like it or not, I think Adobe's subscription style service is here to stay. And with the large majority of graphic designers subscribed to Creative Cloud, it's a great option to ask for as a Christmas gift. You can actually buy gift cards for Creative Cloud to pay for a month or for a year. And even if you have a regular subscription, if you add the gift card to your account, it just prolongs it or adds an extra month or whatever to your account. So again, it's a great option. Somebody doesn't know what to get you. It's software that you use on a regular basis that you have to pay for. So why not ask for it as a gift? Now, I've seen gift cards available on Amazon and at different places. Now, do be careful. I know because I'm in Canada here and Creative Cloud gift cards that are purchased in the US are not actually usable here in Canada. You can buy them electronically and they are usable, but the physical gift card that comes with a PIN number on the back that you scratch off and you have to enter in, those ones are only good in the country they are purchased in. So just keep that in mind if you do ask for a gift card for Creative Cloud. If whoever you are asking doesn't live in the same country you live in, make sure they know that they can't buy a card from their country and then give it to you to use in your country. Now, another, what should be an obvious choice is design books. If you go to your local library, there are tons and tons of books about graphic design, about different aspects. You can get logo books, you can get typography books, color theory, color choices, as well as some great business books, business theory, client relation books, anything like that that would help you out in your business. My favorite right now is a book called Pretty Much Everything by Aaron James Draplin. And it's a book of his career in graphic design. And you flip through that and it's just an amazing book, so well put together. I have it right in front of me on my shelf right here. It's a nice hardcover book, which I bought for myself off Amazon. And it would make a great gift to any graphic designer. So maybe it's something you might not necessarily go out and buy for yourself, but it's something you might like to have. Why not ask for it as a gift? Now, quickly speaking about Amazon, I don't think I've ever mentioned it on the podcast before, but I do have an Amazon affiliate that I use for Resourceful Designer, which you can get to by visiting resourcefuldesigner.com/Amazon, or if you're in Canada, it's /Amazon Canada. And if you use either of those links, they both redirect you to Amazon in either the US or in Canada. And if you make a purchase there, at no extra cost to you, I get a small commission on the sale. So I thought I'd just throw that out there. If you are doing any Christmas shopping on Amazon this year, and you decide you'd like to help out the podcast a little bit, simply visit resourcefuldesigner.com/Amazon or Amazon Canada, and then make your purchase like you always will, no matter what you're buying. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, the last gift idea I want to talk about, again, It all comes down to gift cards, doesn't it? I mean, it's the easiest thing to ask for, and that's gift cards for coffee shops. And I've mentioned I'm not a coffee drinker, but I love a good hot chocolate, and I know the majority of designers out there are coffee drinkers, so you cannot go wrong with a gift card to a coffee shop. Especially for home-based graphic designers. Because I don't know about you, but I don't particularly enjoy it when clients come to my house. I would much rather go meet them at their office, or I go meet them at a local coffee shop. Locally here, there's a whole bunch of coffee shops called Tim Hortons, which is a popular Canadian. They've branched off into the US, but it's a Canadian company. And I will often go meet clients at a Tim Hortons, which is also great because I usually buy them their coffee or their drink and maybe a donut or a Danish or whatever they're interested in, which is another great way to begin that client relation. If you're meeting a client for the very first time and you decide to buy them lunch or even just buy them a coffee, they'll appreciate that. And they will remember it whenever they decide whether or not they want to hire you, which is another great reason to go meet your client somewhere. Not to mention, I really don't want them coming to my house here, especially if I mention it to my wife that a client is going to come over, then she gets all flustered and makes me vacuum and dust and clean the washroom in case they might use the washroom because she definitely doesn't want anybody to come here and think that the house is a mess. So I just make it easier on myself and I try not to meet them here. I'll go meet them at a coffee shop somewhere. So those are pretty much the ideas I have. And as you can see, most of them come down to subscriptions and gift cards with the possibility of graphic design related books or maybe notebooks or sketch pads or illustration pads thrown in. I just wanted to put something out there to help jog your memory when somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, what do you want for the holidays?" Instead of standing there not sure what to say, here are a few ideas you could spill out. Now, in prepping for this episode, I did post this question to the Facebook group, which again, if you're not a member of the group, visit resourcefuldesigner.com/group, which will redirect you to that page where you can ask to join, because you're really missing out some of the great conversations we're having. Now, as I mentioned, I did post this question in the Facebook group as I was getting ready and writing my outline for this episode. I just asked, what sort of things would you guys like to ask for Christmas? Now, Freddie responded that he'd like sketch pads or moleskins, field notes, micro pens, pencils, etc. He says he's a paper person. Anything to scratch a note on, an idea, a logo sketch, or hand lettering on is good for him. Now, he mentioned field notes. I do believe field notes was actually started by Aaron James Draplin, the person whose book I mentioned earlier, Pretty Much Everything. I'm pretty sure that Aaron is the one that created the field notes, little pocket journals. Now, Molly in the Facebook group says that she would love nibs for her Cintiq, which I have to say, Molly, I actually had to look that up. I didn't realize that those nibs would wear out like that and are interchangeable. So I learned something new there. Now, Eric mentioned subscription to Creative Cloud, Pantone swatch books, and also a couple of pounds of Tony's Coffee Cafe Carmelita, as well as replacement leads for his Faber-Castell clutch pencil. Stacy also mentioned Pantone color books and a new case for her laptop. Dan says you can't beat a moleskin. And Carmilla says a new laptop carry bag, credit for an iTunes store, and an A3 planner/calendar. And Brian finished it off saying design books. So many of the things I already talked about. And also some good suggestions that I didn't. If you're asking a family member, maybe a case for your laptop or a carry bag or a pouch for an iPad or a tablet, or even a case for a tablet is something you can ask of a family member, and something not too expensive that you can ask of other people, replacement leads or specialty leads for your pencils. Some designers, especially if they're illustrators, prefer a certain type of lead as opposed to the standard HB pencil lead. So if it's something you're going to end up using and you're going to need anyways, might as well ask for it as a gift. So those were the answers I got to my question in the Facebook group. So that's going to be it for this week's episode. And normally I would end it with a question of the week, but I know for a fact that episode 13 from last year, Graphic Design Gift Ideas for Your Office, is the least downloaded episode of Resourceful Designer. So I'm not anticipating a lot of traction on this episode, but I thought it would be a fun one to put out. But because of that, I didn't want to answer somebody's question here, knowing that a lot of people might be skipping this episode. So if you have listened through to the end, I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. And as always, if you have a question you'd like me to answer in a future episode of the podcast, please visit resourcefuldesigner.com/feedback, where you can ask your question there and I will add it to my list. Now, I haven't quite just decided what next week's topic's going to be yet, so I won't announce it here. But I will say something that I don't say very often, and that is, You can follow me on social media, as well as the Facebook group. There's also a Resourceful Designer Facebook page that you can get to by visiting facebook.com/resourcefuldesigner. And you can also follow me on Twitter at ResourcefulD. So come join me on social media. In the meantime, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I didn't have a resource of the week this week, but I would love for you to share this podcast with any fellow graphic designers you know that you think may benefit from it. So until next time, I hope you're dealing well with the holiday rush that's upon us and that everything is going great for your graphic design business. I am Mark Decote, reminding you to stay creative.
Thanks for listening to the Resourceful Designer Podcast at resourcefuldesigner.com.